welcome everybody to the area room, the dining room at ECC North here. This room we're sitting in is the restaurant that the second year students manage. And so at this point in the education, they spend 1 year in basic skills and pantry garde and hot foods 1 and hot foods 2 for a whole year. Then they start in this room in the fall. And this is our dining room, which is very busy. We serve about 70 people today. So they actually a series of different positions in the kitchen as well as in front of the house. So this is basically their internship, hands-on learning, training, which is wonderful. So prepares them for the real world. And I'm also a graduate of the program as well. I went to the city campus and I graduated in 1998. And I was at a point in my life where I knew I'd love to cook. But I was working in a different type of business. So I was in HR and things like that. And had worked in immigration and always had aspirations to cook. And so at 28, I had to introduce actually my brother here, Dan. Chef Danny, this is Daniel Bamrick. He's a chef as well, and he preceded me. And I had worked for Dan, doing a little bit of catering. Dan had a catering business here in Buffalo, and then he moved away with his family and Delaware North properties, and left me with like an opportunity to do something. So I'm like, Dan, I think I want to cook. He's like, for God's sakes, you're 28, figure it out. So I walked into ECC at cold, and I didn't do anything really too much at all. And so anyways, I graduated from there, and I haven't looked back since. So luckily I had a nice career. I had a lot of wonderful mentors. And I worked in the business for about 15 years, executive chef in different positions. And then I started teaching here part-time in 2000. And at the time I was at City Campus, and then I was hired full-time in 2009. So a little bit of background on myself and the education I had got me where I am, and I'm here to share everything I can with you all today, so welcome. We also have another, our sous chef is Renee Wooten. Renee is also here. She has a hobby of cooking, and Renee is very integral to our department because we have online learning components to our classes, and someone like me is not tech savvy, but I can cook, but I'm not tech savvy. So she has helped me get our classes online, and she also has learned a lot. You know, she comes to the kitchen, she takes photos of the food the students prepare, and so she also wanted to come and hang out today with us as well. So anybody here interested in home cooks or hobby or professional? Just interested? Good, okay.
Because I have to, but lately I have been enjoying actually doing it.
Yeah, it is fun. And you know what, the thing is, I think to take the stress out of it is you figure out what kind of goes together, and if you make mistakes, you make mistakes. You know, that's how you learn, you know, and certain flavors are meant to be together, and you kind of learn that as you go, but you learn that in the process, you know, so it's really fun. And it's and everything is so nice. The seasons change, so it's great to have different produce, different herbs, anything, different proteins based on the seasons of Buffalo, which is really, really nice. So we're coming upon the spring, which is great, so I thought of salmon. And I love salmon, and I don't know, hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well, but salmon is a great dish to serve because, well, a lot of people get it at a restaurant, and they're not comfortable cooking it at home, and honestly, it's very easy to cook. It has natural, beautiful omega-3s in that, so it keeps it moist. It's got a big, robust mouthfeel, and it really does lend itself to lots of different applications. So I thought for a healthy type of thing, that's what I chose to highlight today. So we have different types of, so the menu would be, everyone has a little bit of a recipe packet in front of you for the menu. We're going to do barbecue roasted salmon, and this recipe is as old as the hills. And honestly, my mom gave me this recipe probably maybe 15 years ago, and she found it out at Cooking Light magazine. Remember that magazine? Great magazine. And we have been making that in my family for a long time. Then when I started doing some different parties and working, everywhere I serve this, people go crazy for it. And when it says barbecue roasted, it's really not a barbecue sauce, but the ingredients you can see in here are assertive, but really, really work with the salmon. So pineapple juice. So pineapple juice has an acid, also has a lot of flavor, and also has awesome enzymes to break down proteins, which is great if you're marinating chicken perhaps, but when you're marinating seafood, especially something like salmon, you can't marinate it too long in an acid, otherwise it'll actually start cooking the product for you, okay, because acid will start breaking it down. So this pineapple juice, which I have behind me here, and I'll show you a little information about it We're gonna marinate that for no more than an hour, okay? Any seafood you marinate, you can't do more than that because it will get tough. So the salmon was marinated for maybe 50 minutes or so, a little bit earlier. And then this rub here, it's pineapple juice and lemon juice together. So it's pretty acidy, all right? But acid is so important to this dish because there's so much like fat in that, you know, rich mouthfeel that you really want to cut that through with some of the acid. So we have our lemon juice and pineapple juice. Then we have our salmon fillets, which I'll talk about in a moment. We have brown sugar, not too much, you know, and we have chili powder, lemon zest, ground cumin, salt, and ground cinnamon. It's really nice smell together, works really well. And all you want to do is, again, just marinate your salmon for a bit and then pull it out with the marination, discard the marination, you can't use it any longer. Get it dry, and then after you make your rub, you're gonna rub up your salmon. And then the key to this is roasting it at a high temperature. You know, you want salmon, any seafood, the ratio for cooking time is for every 10 minutes of cooking, every inch of thickness is 10 minutes of cooking time. Is a good little rule of thumb. Or if you're not sure you want to trust that, it should be cooked to 140 degrees, okay? The thickest part of the protein, making sure that it's not, at that temperature, neither overdone or underdone. It's actually just perfect, plus there's carryover cooking. Okay, so the rub ingredients I have right here, and it looks just like this, okay? It's got a really nice color, and it's great against the salmon, okay? It almost looks very coppery against the beautiful flesh of the salmon. So the zest is in here. You can make this, you can freeze it. Anybody have a Cryovac machine at home? You know, you can also Cryovac it and extend the life more, but there's fresh zest in here, so you can't leave it sitting out. It has to either be refrigerated or you can put it in the freezer. In my case, I make a big bunch of it and I freeze it. This is also great on pork. Pork tenderloin is really nice with this too. I never had it on chicken, but I think it'd be really nice on pork. So, all right, so a little bit about salmon, okay? So salmon is very popular, and it's because it's healthy because of omega-3s. And the reason why it develops strong omega-3s is because it's going against the stream, okay? So this is the term you associate with salmon is adronomous, which means it goes back to the fresh waters to spawn, and it's fighting against that current. When it fights against the current, that's when it develops all those beautiful omega-3s, which are so good for our brain, for our health, and our cardiovascular system. So, and that also lends itself to that rich, oily taste in there, okay? And you really always want to eat, if you can, wild fish, okay? It's a big difference, and especially wild salmon. King salmon, Copper River salmon, sockeye salmon, they're all seasonal, and usually in the spring is when we get a lot of the sockeye in. And so, but I could not source out the wild salmon, so this is farm raised. You can always tell farm raised as opposed to wild because it's a lot thicker, okay? It's just not quite as healthy because it's actually aqua farmed, and so the best thing, of course, would be to have wild salmon. It's unfortunately very expensive, you know, but treat yourself, right? You know, it's really good for you. And it has a different taste. It has a stronger taste. It's a little thinner, not quite so thick, a little more earthier, I guess. You know, a little more assertive, I should say. That's the word, a little more assertive. Okay. So we have our nice farm-raised salmon today. So I'm just going to show you how to take the skin off, and then we're going to throw that into our marination, and then we'll talk about the second component of our dish. Any questions so far about anything salmon or anything? No?
For the salmon, you've got the long, flatter piece, and sometimes when you go to a restaurant, you get the thinner piece.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference on the
That's kind of like by the belly fat.
Okay.
So like, for instance, I have it right here. I'll show you that. I usually just trim it off,
Okay.
and you could, because it's not going to cook evenly. You know what I mean? It's going to get overdone. So you could use that for sushi. You know, you could poach it and make a poached salmon salad out of that. And you know, you could just leave it on as well. It just kind of will get overdone. Dan, you're so good with the saran wrap.
Can you fold that flap over, Jackie?
Yes, you can fold the flap over. Yeah.
Same to the tail piece?
The tail piece, you can definitely fold over. Yeah. So did you talk about the tail piece or the side? I'll show you one here. You can tell me.
I guess most of it, a lot of times in the store you see that, but then sometimes when you go to the fish counter, they have just.
Like
the
this right
long
here?
and The skinny pieces,
Ye-
where they're like about.
Yes.
That they're real thick.
Yes, yeah, so I would definitely fold it in half to cut, so it cooks a little bit more even. Otherwise it'll get overdone pretty quickly. So this is a nice, beautiful, lean piece here. You guys can't see what this can you? Can you see what this here in the light? No, okay. Sous chef?
I know the writer.
Can you just move? Yeah, perfect. I will talk about this stuff in a second. Thank you. You can move all of it, because I think it's gonna start.
Jim, what other fish are like salmon?
Trout. Trout, yes. Trout also, and trout's a little more affordable, I think, you know, in the wild form. The color is deeper. It's a much deeper orange color. And a lot of times, most of what the salmon are eating is shrimp. You know, so it kind of turns their, you know, the shells and stuff that interact with it. But trout family too. Yeah. All right. So, that's my zester. All right, so we've got the skin here in the back, okay? I want to take the skin off of this application. Normally I would have a whole fillet, actually the 2 fillets, I had 2 full fillets, I got this third piece as a demo. So it's easy to take the skin off a full side of salmon. When you purchase your salmon in the business, you'll ask for a side of salmon, which means it's going to be filleted and the pin bones usually removed, but the skin will be on. And a lot of times you want to keep the skin on there, especially since you're marinating, you know, a little bit. It helps keep the skin, it helps keeps the moisture in. But I want to remove it for service. Okay. Some people like crispy skin too. It's very much of an Asian type of cuisine to have crispy skin. I just don't like skin too much.
I Googled so we could see.
Oh, this stuff?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So this is you want to feel this, okay, to make sure you have no pin bones. Pin bones are going to be along the middle section of the salmon usually, and I think I can feel one right here. I don't have, let's see, it's out. Yeah, here it is right here. Because they're very, very long. And you guys can't see this, but they're very long. They're about an inch in length. So it's very important that you feel this, make sure they do cook out, you know, but you really want to make sure that they're all out, and they are. Okay, so this is a lot of belly fat right here, so I'm just going to go right around here a little bit, okay? I'm just going to cut some of it, just trim off some of this. Skin is on here. So since I don't have my little tail piece to get me going, I'm just going to start in this back end here and just cut right into this. Start taking the flesh off. I can feel another pin going right here. You can use needle nose pliers at home for these. I just got mine at Value actually. There's another one. It's big. Start here. All right, when you do this, you want to make sure that your knife is on an angle, okay? And you're really just sliding the knife forward, okay? You want to make sure it's not up or it's going to hit the flesh of the meat, okay? And when you hold your knives at home, it's really important to kind of hold it in this kind of position so you can choke up on it and have a lot of control. If you hold it back here, it tends to fall out of your hands, right? You hold it like this, it's stressing your arm. You're doing a lot of mincing and chopping at a 10, 12-hour shift, it's too much. Just hold it, your thumb is here. It's very natural. It doesn't seem like a little bit, but it feels very comfortable in my hand. Thumb here, fingers like that, nice and comfortable. I'm controlling the knife. The knife not's controlling me. Okay, so I'm gonna just take it down here and remove this skin. I can also do this with my hand, okay? I can just slide my hand right down here. It comes right off.
Oh, I like that better.
Yeah, I do too. And And you know why? Because you have no chance to harm the meat really with a knife. It comes right out. Okay, so separates so easily. And then beautiful flat, it shouldn't have any meat on there, okay? And then you can crisp this up if you like, you know what I mean? So, take that off there. And now I'm gonna take this guy right here, and I'm gonna marinate it in the pineapple juice and lemon juice, okay? I'm gonna go upside down with it first. And if someone could just do a little timer for me for like, I don't know, it's kind of small, maybe 15 minutes, that would be great. And then we'll flip it over on the side. So like working in restaurants, like we would fillet our own salmon, we get whole salmon in, and we teach our students the same way, the same process. We get whole salmons, and actually the students that are on Hot Foods 2 right now just finished the 2 weeks of fish cookery, and they're breaking down whole salmons, they're breaking down tilapia, they're breaking down sole, a flatfish and a roundfish. So it's really nice to see that process, and it's not hard. It's just the bone is tough sometimes to get through the whole salmon, but it's much cheaper. You know, anytime you pay someone to do the work for you, they're going to charge you. So we always teach our students as well regarding chicken. They're taught to break down chicken. Well, when you break down your own chicken, you can use the whole carcass. Thighs, legs, drums, carcass for stock, wings, and it's cheap that way. So if you go to wherever you want to go, I don't know, Wegmans, Aldi's, well, Wegmans I think is, you know, probably a little pricier, but it's a lot, maybe $4 or $5 for whole chicken, versus if I wanted to go to my butcher and I wanted to order, you know, 6 ounce chicken breasts, they're going to charge me for the convenience of having them doing the work for me, you know? So it's good to kind of learn, to have a little more skill set, especially in a restaurant, because it's more affordable for you. You have highly skilled chefs there that can do the job for you and save yourself some money and put the money someplace else, you know? All right, so I'm just going to remove this here a second.
Jackie, what do you recommend they clean the cutting board with? I have the same cutting board at home, and I'm always challenged with what to clean it.
Well, I do like standard a little bit of bleach. I do a little bit of bleach on it. I keep a little bleach and water in the squirt bottle. I do that first, and then I run through my dish machine. This is a polypropylene heavy grade plastic cutting board. They kind of frown upon, especially the Department of Health, really, on wooden cutting boards, because they crack and bacteria gets inside the cracks. This will not do that. So yeah, I do a little bit of bleach, and I use Dawn then, or the dish machine.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Louise, should I tell them about our experience together?
No.
No? Yeah, I'm gonna.
Sure you can.
Yeah. So Louise and I had the pleasure of going to Italy through a ECC program, and I went on the 11th hour literally because someone was ill, and someone came to me 3 weeks before we were supposed to go and said, "Do you want to go to Italy? And here's your roommate." So I talked to Louise, and we just chatted over the phone, and then we met, and we went on the trip. It's called the Taste of Italy, and we still do the trip now, but it's not through the college. We have college tours, not through ECC. But when we first did it together, it was actually more of a student-driven trip, and oh my gosh, we flew into Milan, we went to Torino, right? We went to Torino, we went to Parma, we went to Florence, we went to Bologna. I can't remember all the places we went, but we were on a trip with like, what did you say, 50 people? So we really had a great time. It was, how long ago would you say, like 8 years ago? That was, maybe more?
More than that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
about 10 years ago.
So, Tuscany. We were in Tuscany as well. So it's a fantastic trip. It's called the Taste of Italy, and part of the whole trip is educating students. We would go to restaurants that would demo pasta making, bolognese making, chocolate making, a lot of wineries and things. And we had free time when the Euros goes pretty far there. So like we'd have lunch, and there's always wine with lunch. Like their house wines are amazing. And so like, I don't know, 30 euros, you had a beautiful lunch and some wine. So we were roommates anyways. Yeah, so it's good to see you. It's a really nice surprise. Okay, so on to our next part of our demo here. So this is marinating. The rub is already made. It's very simple. I want to talk about who made mango chutney. And Oh, here it is, right here. All right. So this is nice because there's a counterpoint to that salmon, okay? Because obviously mango goes really well with salmon. So they're fresh mangoes. And this, whenever you make a chutney, it's always a sweet, savory kind of combination in here. Always gonna have vinegar, you're always gonna have a little bit of sugar, you're going to have red pepper, fresh red pepper, you know, bell pepper. You're going to have some raisins. You can alter this based on what you want, but this is great because you can make it as large as you want or as small as you want, okay? So we take the fresh mangoes, which you know that there's a big pit in the middle of the mango. So your yield is not a whole lot, but the pit is 2/3 of the way inside that mango. So you gotta kind of cut around that. And then it's peeled and then we trim it up. And then we almost like stew it with those nice, you know, the vinegar and a little bit of sugar and stuff like that. And then we add cinnamon stick to it and it cooks out and it just transforms to a really, really nice spicy kind of, there is a little ginger. Ginger's in here as well. So a lot going on in here, so I think it'd be really nice with the salmon today. So anybody make a chutney at home at all? Because you can alter, you can make apple chutney, you can make peach chutney in the summer is really nice. It's the same process. Just varying the different types of fruits you have. And you can add different things to it. So it's aromatic, it's really, really nice. The first part of this is combining the mango and onion and garlic and vinegar, so it's very savory. In a saucepan and cook it till your sugar dissolves. Obviously, if you're looking for a healthy component, sugar, you know, is a tough thing, but you have to, you know, you can use some brown sugar, you can use cane sugar. I use a lot of Truvia in my cooking at home. It's got a little bit of an aftertaste, but sometimes you really can't really tell. So you can play with that and add, pull out some of the sugar and add, you know, some of Truvia to that and see if you like that as an option. And then once that cooks down, you're gonna stir in some raisins. You can do golden raisins or dark raisins. I like the dark raisins because it's a different color combination with the mango. Crystallized ginger, salt, and some spice. You cook it down again until the onions are sort of kind of caramelized, and then you just reduce it to kind of like a glaze-like substance. This could be served warm or room temperature or hot. I think it's going to go nice with what we have today. So you'll taste this all on your dish, okay? That's our chutney. And let's see. Oh, let's talk a little bit about farro. I chose to highlight farro. Has anybody had farro before?
Yeah.
Nice, isn't it interesting?
It is.
It's very, very nice. It cooks like I cooked it like pasta, honestly. When you follow those package directions on any type of grain or something, they always seem to add too much liquid. Like I don't know if anybody cooks quinoa in here. Yeah, I don't follow the package directions because it always makes it soupy. It should be nice and separate and fluffy. So I always go with less what they recommend. So the farro, I'm like, I don't know. So I just cooked it like pasta. And when it was done, I just removed it and I rinsed out all the starch and then I just kind of let it cool a little bit. So farro is an ancient grain in the wheat family. This kind of also resembles wheat berries, which is the whole kernel of grain. Anybody have wheat berries? So it's kind of almost the same as a little crunchy and chewier. It's a little darker in color as well. I have some up here. It's hard to see it, but that's how it kind of came out. And I toasted it first. I toasted the dry grain first in the oven at 350 to get a little toasty flavor. A little nuttiness on there as well. Kind of similar to barley. It has a bite though, a little more of a bite after cooking. Nutrition-wise, farro is similar to the other grains. It has 7 grams of fiber, so that's wonderful. And 7 grams of protein. That's a lot in a serving. You know, that's what you want. You want a little more protein, a little more fiber in your diet, right? Per a half cup cooked. So 7 grams of fiber, 7 grams of protein for a half cup. If you can't find farro, you can definitely replace it with your favorite grain, starch, barley, quinoa, brown rice, or wheat berries. All like in the organic sections usually at the stores, you know. Or you can even order online on Amazon. You don't have it shipped, so you have to go too far to try to find it. All right, so you also can add so much to this to make it a little different. You can make like a main meal out of it if you wanted, to add protein inside that. So we have a recipe that we made today. really nice. It's a warm caramel salad with roasted root vegetables. I'm choosing to keep mine room temperature because I think it will come out nice that way. So what we have is, so I toasted the farro, and then I boiled it in salted water. You gotta have salt in your water when you're boiling your pasta or different things like that. It adds flavor and, you know.
Toasted it before you boil?
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and so then to this we have roasted butternut squash. So it's healthy, it's got a nice color to it. I cut it kind of small. So I have butternut squash in here, carrots that are also peeled and cut. I called for red onions, I did shallots because they're a little more mild. A little dried rosemary, I also add a little bit of, I fresh rosemary, I used fresh thyme, and a little bit of salt. And I roasted out the vegetables together for maybe 15-20 minutes, which kind of looks like this. It's hard for you guys to see all this, I know. But in here is all these like nice little roasted vegetables. They still have texture, they have flavor, but I cut them small so it would be, you know, so it makes sense with the dish, okay?
What type of vegetables, Chef?
Butternut squash, carrots, and onions.
Herbs?
Rosemary and thyme. And I use the whole fresh sprigs of rosemary, which are like right, the stuff right here. So I have, I always use herbs, and I hope you all use herbs. And just always remember, you want to add dry at the beginning, fresh at the end, okay? Because it cooks out otherwise. So I just did a couple sprigs of rosemary and thyme and toss it inside the herbs, and then they roasted as well with them. So that was a really nice aromatic flavor. So then I just chopped them all up, and then that's going to be a component for our salad. Calling it a salad, but it's definitely, you know, has the grain item in there. And then I use vegetable broth to cook the farro in. So here is some things that I like to use a lot to help for healthy cooking. This is from Wegmans, and it's the food you feel good about. It's vegetable stock, and very low sodium, 10 calories, very low, because sometimes if you don't get the low sodium, it's a lot of sodium in there. And sodium is a huge thing, right? It's in everything. So it's hard to get like pre-cooked meals, packaged meals, because there's a lot of sodium in there. So this one has 100 grams, which isn't that bad at all, in a cup. Usually it's like 700. So this is great to have on hand when you guys are cooking something low fat or healthy or just whatever. Instead of having to add any extra calories, vegetable stock goes a long way. I also use chicken stock and everything too. Again, this is low sodium as well. This actually has no salt added. Because you want to taste the chicken, not really the salt, right? But it's preservative. So I use this a lot. When you're trying to cook healthy and avoiding a lot of fat to cook, you have different options. You know, you can use a lot of stocks to help. You can cook your vegetables in the stock. You could saute things in stock. You could do a lot of poaching. Like poached fish is really nice as well. You could use stock for that. You can use like different types of fruit that are pureed to give you a little bit of flavor versus having a lot of sugar in something like a barbecue sauce. You know, you can add different types of purees and tomato juices, but try to get the low sodium ones like V8 and stuff like that because of low sodium. So these are some things that I have in my pantry that help me kind of, you know, be prepared when I'm, like pasta broccoli I make a lot, and I started using it. Has anybody used the, what makes the brand? It is chickpea pasta. Anybody try that? It's definitely different, right? But there's like, I think 7 or 8 grams of fiber in a little serving of that, and it's definitely different, you know, you get used to it. But when I used to make pasta broccoli, I loved it with, you know, beautiful olive oil and things like that. So I cut back on that, and I just finish off with a little bit of veggie stock, and you really don't miss as long as you get that really good Parmesan. You want to put like your fatty items where it packs a punch, you know? So Parmesan Reggiano was delicious. It's got a nice end note. You don't need a whole lot to go a long way, you know. So, anyways, this is something I wanted to mention that we use too. When we're here in the kitchen though, we use we make our own stocks. So we have a 50-gallon Seedpicker kettle, more than that actually. It's a massive kettle, and we put 50 pounds of bones in at a time. We'll do chicken stocks, we'll do veal stocks. We save all our scraps from our mincing, chopping, and we make veggie stocks ourselves. But you know, even at home, during the week, save your stuff. Save your carrots, your celery, your onions, anything. Just don't add broccoli or cauliflower because it's going to change the flavor. But save that stuff. You know, tomatoes, tomato skins. and then make a nice little veggie stock for yourself, and you know, it's kind of nice. So anyways, we cook that into the veggie stock, and what's nice in here, and it's the salad, is a lot of nice ingredients. It calls for baby spinach. You know, spinach doesn't have a lot of flavor, but it's a good filler and it's really good for you. Vitamin K, you know, and it's very important for your body, but people don't like it, but there's really no flavor to it, so sneak it in whenever you can, you know? Lemon juice, lemon juice and zest, red wine vinegar, olive oil, ghost cheese. A little bit of ghost cheese is in here, not a whole lot, but enough to give it a, ghost cheese is like creamy and, you know, takes on a lot of other flavors of something, so it's not overpowering. Like feta is sort of stronger and saltier, but this is a little more mellow, and it's going to work really well with what we are eating. Pistachios. It's good to have nuts and grains and seeds in your diet. So we have pistachios that were roasted and a little bit of salt on there, so it's a nice little crunch. We have dried cranberries. We added some dried apricots. Yes.
Well, it's 15 minutes.
Oh, thank you, Chef. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay, I'll flip this over. All right. Is it really hot in here? Yeah.
Remember that Barbara had jeans
Yeah.
and tongs?
No, I'll use my gloves. Thanks, Dan. Renee, any questions?
No, my husband actually made farro. When I saw it, I recognized it.
Oh, really?
I watched from farro the other
Oh,
night.
did he?
It's like a side. It's very good. You made yours from scratch, then did you roast it first?
I just toast it in the oven before I boil it, yeah. All right, so maybe I'll just a couple more minutes longer. Dan, maybe like 10 minutes, and then we can, maybe we'll take it out of it. Okay.
How do you toast the farro? What is the temperature in the oven?
Oh, I did like 350. I just put them right onto a sheet tray and put it at 350 for like 10 minutes. Just to get a little bit of a crunchy flavor, you know, profile. Yeah.
I make, this taco bowl.
Okay.
Instead of use rice, I use farro.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did, and you know what?
Huh.
Oh my God, it is so good. I made my own
Really?
Mexican salsa. Do not buy the stuff in the store. That
The
is
homemade
so
salsa?
to your taste.
Yeah, yeah.
Just make your own. And I can have that stuff twice a week, and my husband will not complain.
Yeah, that's good to know because there's so many carbohydrates in rice and plain white rice, you know, and brown rice is very good as well, but I think the farro will be interesting.
Yeah, I did, and then I make my own black beans. I know,
Like what, refried black beans or no?
No, I
No.
just cook I take the pressure cooker, the stuff that you buy in the bag, and I just cook it. I just put a bone, like a pork or a smoke, whatever something that, the smoked bones that they come from the,
Oh, okay.
and stuff, and you put it in there with a big piece of onion, and then you put it in the pressure cooker for 45 minutes. And then let it cook and whatever, and then when you open that stuff, it's just coming, it's gonna get a lot of juice, but then you just let it sear, and they just cook it down.
It's quite delicious.
Oh, no,
I've never used a pressure cooker. I'm almost intimidated by it. I don't know. I have to.
Well,
Does it?
It works perfect, like some meats that they are very hard to cook or whatever, I don't know, I found some recipe, I mean, I'm not a chef, I just look for whatever I can find. And it's some kind of Filipino chicken dish. And
Okay.
it is Paris cooked with, in the pressure cooker. It is very short time that you have to do that, but, found a lot of things, but it came out so good.
That's good to know. Yeah, I really like it too. I think you're gonna enjoy it. It's nice and crunchy, which I think is nice, kind of
Oh, I
interesting.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, I'll try that sometime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for adding that. Okay, so then we basically have pistachios, cranberries. We added, I think I told you, what did I say? Apricots, okay? All right, so very simple. So this is already done, right? And I need a little, you can do something to stir this with, if you don't mind, in the kitchen, like a little spoon or something. So here are our pistachios, okay? Nice and crunchy. In here I have roasted vegetables, I have the cranberries, some nuts. I'm going to mix everything in here a little bit. All right. So it's simple, you know what I mean? It's really not too much work for you. A little fresh herbs here. When you have your fresh thyme, you just want to go just through the first way. Thank you. Can you do me a favor? Have Dan examine it? You know what time it is? 4:41. Okay. All right.
For how long are you gonna go?
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, you put that in. Thank you.
It looks so easy when you do it. How come it doesn't
I
go down like
my
that?
students struggle with this too. I said just kind of hold it in your hand and just be gentle as you go down. As you pull it, just be very gentle. Because you really don't want to have those woody stems, you know what I mean? That's not good. Yeah. One more favor to ask of you. Can you get a little bit of red wine vinegar and olive oil straight over there, okay? Thank you. Just give a little mix here. You want to do this in advance a little bit so it's the Farrell absorbs the flavor of your lemon and everything like that. I'm a big proponent of zesting. I love to zest. I love fresh zest on everything, and so I'm going to add a little bit of zest to this product. Just the zest, not the pith, of course. Do you guys all have zesters at home? Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes a big difference, doesn't it? Yes. And I always use kosher salt. When I'm cooking, iodized salt is really not the same. You know, they obviously came with iodized salt in the 50s and 60s when people needed to have iodine in their diet, so they threw it to salt because everyone consumes salt. But you really want to cook with kosher salt or sea salt. It's more pure. You actually need less of it, to be honest with you. If it's a bigger flake and you use it, you'd be surprised the difference between, well, if you pour it, it's, you know, you have so much more, you know, iodized salt, of course, is so much smaller. But it's kind of a cloudier taste. The kosher salt is really pure and really nice flavor. And I always use cracked black pepper. I actually have a spice grinder at home that I use for my coffee beans. But I always grind my own pepper. It makes such a difference to have good fresh pepper. And you know, don't hang on to your herbs too long, or your spices too long, because they go bad. They just don't have the flavor. Same with fresh pepper. In classes, we start off every Monday morning. We grind our fresh pepper in there. We have all our spices and our herbs fresh because it makes a difference in the food. All right, so this is a marriage made in heaven. All right, I have red wine vinegar and olive oil, and this is going to add a little flavor to this with that lemon. So when you talk about like certain oils for healthy cooking, avocado oil to me always comes to mind first. It's so popular because it's a high smoking point and it's good for you. You know, the avocados are technically a fruit, but it's got a really good property for monounsaturated fats, and again, a strong mouthfeel as well, but you can also saute with that and use it as a drizzle. So that's a nice thing to have. Grapeseed oil is another one that has a very high smoking point, which means you can fry something nicely in there. Not virgin oil, not olive oil. Olive oil is not meant to be sauteed, or it does not have a high smoking point. It'll dissipate, it'll get very bitter, because it already is bitter. There's an acid to it. So when you talk about extra virgin olive oil to regular olive oil, extra virgin is the first cold pressing of your olive. It's bright green, it's strong, it's acidic, and the acidity level I think is 4 to 6% in extra virgin, and it's going to be a bitter taste. It's a finisher, you know, a drizzle over a nice risotto, a dipping for your bread at the table. When we were in Italy, I don't know, there was no butter at any table, like nothing, right? Like, and your bread was almost plain. I don't remember even having olive oil on the table, do you?
No.
So we went to an olive oil demo, that's what we did, and it was so interesting. We went to an olive farm, and that's where we learned a lot about the olive oils in different cities. So extra virgin is just a finisher, and then it goes down levels from there, ending at just basically pure olive oil. So pure olive oil is a little more neutral, and you could cook with that, you could actually saute with that, but you want to have a nice finisher, a nice little drizzle. I would use a little extra virgin. I worked at Wegmans for a short time as a cooking coach, and everything was Wegmans basting oil and Wegmans olive oil. and which was the pure olive oil. And so I learned to kind of cook with that, and I liked it. I just want to make sure that people realize you don't want to cook with extra virgin, you know. So I'm going to use a little bit in here, just to make a little bit of the color. You can see the color, the rich, that beautiful color, yeah. And you got to be careful because there's a lot of, they say there's a lot of commercialization with getting what you think you're buying extra virgin, and sometimes you're really not. And there's certain name brands in the country. I want to say it's something with a C, and I can't think of what it is, but from California, and it's pure extra virgin olive oil. Some of the imports aren't pure, so it's a big commodity issue right now. So a little bit of red wine vinegar, beautiful. That's for a salad too, right? Very palate cleansing. Just adding a little bit of this. It's going to add a little zippiness to this. And mix it up a little bit. Let's sit at room temperature. At this point, you could, if you wanted, you could add arugula, chopped arugula to this. You know, which I think is, I love arugula. It's really nice. It's peppery. It's strong. It adds an interesting flavor. Actually, it's very good with salmon. Again, you have spinach. You could have different greens in here. You could add different vegetables. You can add corn if you wanted. You know, it's really up to you, whatever you want to add. So let this sit a little bit. We're gonna have this, I already made a little batch of it, so it's kind of like got some flavor already. So that's a good thing to consume that tonight. Okay. I'm gonna take this, move this out of here. I'm gonna show you how to apply the rub on this. Okay. Take this back there. That'd be great. Yes, thank you so much. This is actually going to pitch it to the put it on our salmon. That can go right behind the line there. Yeah. Actually, just here. This one you can just push with a knife in that sink area, you know. Now it's all go in the garbage. I'm going to give you this too, if you don't mind. Actually, I'm trying to see. Okay. All right. So you feel how much rub we're actually going to add on here. They fired, Dan?
Oh, good, Chuck.
Whatever's coming to smell, the sweetest thing.
When you talk about oils, it's peanut oil, is that high?
Peanut oil, yes, is a high smoking point as well. And people, since there's so many peanut allergies, kind of got away from that.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a high smoking point as well. Yeah, yeah. And it was very popular for a long time. But then, you know, it's like in schools and things like that, for children, it's always an issue. So we don't use it as much. Yeah, but it's available though. So like I always have different oils in my house. I would have extra virgin. I have pure olive oil. I have, I use a lot of avocado oil. I use grapeseed oil. So I have different applications of things, you know, different vinegars. Another thing for cooking light is having different vinegars. Vinegar changes a lot of flavor profiles as well, so it's kind of nice. All right, so I'm gonna take this out of here. And you can almost see it's getting a little bit white.
Yeah.
That's that acid, okay? This is starting to cook it. So anybody have ceviche?
Oh,
Or
yes.
ceviche, right?
Ceviche,
So,
yes.
I'm sorry to bother you. Go get the towels. Just like nothing. So that is something that's cooked in acid, right? Lemon juice, lime juice, fresh zest, it's the best. And so you make scallops, or you do like calamari, or any like bass, or any whitefish. Shrimp, yeah, shrimp, that's right. I should have known shrimp and avocado. And you have to, you know, squeeze your juice and keep it in that juice until it actually turns opaque and starts cooking the fish. And it's delicious in the spring and summer. Thank you so much. Renee, you having fun? So I just want to dry it off a little bit, guys. This is a really nice fillet. Nice big piece of it. Okay. All right, so here's our nice rub that we talked about. There's zest is in here, and chili powder, things like that. So I'm just gonna go, just kind of just start to sprinkle it on. I go kind of pretty heavy with it. And don't be afraid to go heavy with it. It is actually very nice together. Just kind of press it in a little bit. And I do the other side as well. And I would put this onto a sheet pan, like a jelly roll pan, and I would spray my pan with a little pan spray. I use pan spray a lot as well at home. You know, you don't need all that extra fat for something like this, but you don't want to make sure it doesn't stick, you know? And then for this presentation, I did this and I cut it into smaller portions, nice thick little smaller portions. But you can roast it like this, the way it is, and then when you cut it, it might crumble a little bit, or else you can maybe cut it into your fillets already and then roast it that way. I've never done it on the grill, so I'm thinking as I'm doing this, it might be really nice in the grill, in direct heat on the grill. You know, that might be actually very nice, a smoky flavor too. So that's all. It's super simple, very, very simple. Any questions about that so far at all? Any questions at all? Yeah, so we'll get back to that.
Can you cook tuna with that recipe?
Tuna?
Yes.
No.
Fresh tuna.
I would not do it. You know why? You wouldn't taste the tuna.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you know how salmon is more assertive, it can stand up in bold flavors?
Yes.
Tuna, I think, would get lost.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think we have to cook this at a higher temperature to get that bronze, it's called bronze barbecue spice. So by the time you cooked it to the bronze state, the tuna will be overdone. Yeah. So, and then for our vegetable, we have, I chose to highlight on here though, all I really do is I just took some fresh spring asparagus and I blanched it, and I also did some nice haricot vert, which are French green beans. When you're blanching your vegetables, we always do it in the business, so we always blanch our stuff to get our things ready for the business. You know, at 5 o'clock, you come in at like 11 or 12 and you get all your mise en place done, and a lot, you see everyone blanching and shopping. And so you're having your water at a boil, you're adding a lot of salt, to get especially for green vegetables, to get the chlorophyll, that nice, beautiful, bright green color, and that salt does that. And then you do it right to the tooth. It should just not be mushy, but it should not be hard. A little bit of texture there, and then we immediately blanch it. Immediately shock it in ice bath. So it stops the cooking process. It also keeps that green color. And we leave it in there until it's cool. And then we drain it, and we kind of pat it dry before you want to saute it, because if it's wet, you're going to have a problem if you have half fat in the pan and you add a vegetable that's been, it has any water on there, it's going to obviously flare up a little bit. So make sure it's a little bit dry. So we have the vegetable on our plate will be asparagus, green beans, a little bit of red pepper, and then we also made very simple. It's not on here because I did it the last minute. I saw some yogurt that we had available, so I made a yogurt curry sauce, which I think might work well with this, so we'll see how that goes. So we're gonna kind of get that ready, so you guys can relax and chat a little bit. Any questions before you go in the kitchen? You hungry?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, give us a few minutes, we're gonna plate up, and then Chef Dan and our sous chef Renee will pass everything out. And a little bit about the bread you had today. This week's rotation for the seniors was French Bistro, and they make every single bit of, well, everything's made from scratch, but more importantly, the breads. And so Chef Barb Warnick is the pastry instructor in this particular class, and they're making French baguettes today. I said, oh, save me some for this class. So, have you ever been to our dining room before?
Yes.
You have? Downtown, yeah. So unfortunately, there was water damage, so it's closed. So we have both campuses together. So we're able to do a lot. That's why we had a lot of people in here today. But the bread is so nice, isn't it? So the students get involved in that process. We've got a wonderful baking program here. Fantastic. It's a certificate program, and they start off doing all types of different breads, and they go on from there. And bread baking is very important to us here. And last week we did, we made naan bread. We had Mediterranean and Moroccan food, so we did naan bread. Oh my gosh, Chef Barb makes probably the best focaccia I've ever had for Mediterranean week and Italian. So anyways, I want you to appreciate that the students all made that baguette today for you. So yeah. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So all right, if you don't mind, a couple minutes, we'll get our stuff plated up and we'll be out to serve you, okay? All right, thanks.